We don't know the details of the deal that is bringing them home, and then it may well be that there are some very problematic aspects to this deal. But at least this morning, I am giving thanks that Pastor Saeed is coming home. It is far later than it should have been, but we will be glad to welcome him home with open arms.
And of course, there are troubling details that have emerged, and joining us now is Michael McCaul, Congressman Michael McCaul of the 10th CD in the great state of Texas. He also is the chairman of the House Committee on Homeland Security, member of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, and has a great new, very important new book, Failures of Imagination, The Deadliest Threats to Our Homeland and How to Thwart Them. There's the book on your TV screen. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, Steve, doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. All right, so let's talk about, as Ted Cruz indicated when he first found out about the deal, there might be some troubling aspects of it that we'll find out about. Your take on what the president did in swapping?
Well, I mean, first, you're talking about exchanging hostages taken by Iran and Americans in exchange for criminals and potential terrorists. They've talked about 7 now Iranians being pardoned from our criminal justice system, and then 14 at large who are out there. Some we think may have actually been involved in the Buenos Aires plot to bomb the Jewish center down in South America some years ago.
In Argentina, yeah.
In Argentina. And so hardly a fair swap in my book. And then you look at the $1.3 billion given to them that was part of apparently a military contract we had prior to the revolution. Not to mention, Steve, the $150 billion in sanctions being lifted that as the chairman of Homeland Security, I know will go directly into funding terrorist acts.
So does this deal put America and Americans in more danger? I haven't even gotten to the part yet where we saw the 3 kidnappings in Iraq already a day after this. But what about the people released, the people pardoned, the people granted clemency? Does that put us in more danger?
Well, you know, they have been charged with federal crimes and have now been pardoned, and I think that, of course they do, and particularly the 2 that may have been involved in the bombing attack at the Jewish center. Iran has a pretty heavy presence in the Western Hemisphere in Latin America, and when I see this kind of money, it's going to get pumped not just into their economy, but into the Iranian Quds Force, which is their terrorist arm, the same terrorist arm that killed hundreds of Americans on the battlefield in Iraq and Afghanistan, the same Iran that plotted to kill the Saudi ambassador in Washington, D.C. I've looked at their presence in Latin America as well, and these flights that go between Tehran and Caracas. This just stabilizes the Ayatollah even more so.
Yeah.
It destabilizes the Middle East, and it infiltrates the Western Hemisphere from a terrorist threat.
And as far, you know, Obama has repeatedly said at one time or another that if we do this, or by saying this or saying that, we're putting targets on the backs of Americans in uniform and citizens as well abroad. Has he done that now, as by, you know, evidenced by what we've seen in Iraq with another exchange here by of prisoners or hostages?
Well, when you reward hostage taking with this kind of swap, I think it encourages further hostage taking. We know that in Iraq, Shia militias, Iranian, are in Iraq trying to fill the void in the vacuum. This administration is relying on them to fight ISIS, which I think is a failed policy, but it's now resulted, Steve, in the taking 3 Americans in Iraq hostage.
Yeah.
And this comes on the days of this hostage swap.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you about...
It's hostage for criminals, I mean, is what it is.
Absolutely. All right, your book is so full of important information. You know, I heard you the other day talking about the possibility of smallpox being sprayed at a Disney theme park on Main Street through some kind of spray gun, the possible attack on the Mall on America, a possible attack at the Oscars. Are these 3, you know, events that keep you up at night because you're worried that these things might really happen?
You know, I only had 8 chapters. I could have written probably 200. And so, obviously, I think ISIS is the biggest threat to the homeland. right now.
You mean those guys in pickup trucks with basements and garages? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, the JV team that, they're just working out of garages and that sort of thing. What I think my book essentially tries to confront, Steve, is the constant narrative from this administration to downplay the threat that I constantly get briefed on, almost like we're getting two separate types of briefings. And it's been part of his campaign narrative to shut down Iraq and Afghanistan, close down Guantanamo. And you know what? When ISIS reared its ugly head, it didn't fit in his campaign narrative. And so there's been a constant effort, whether it was Hassan being workplace violence or Benghazi. I just saw 13 Hours yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
That movie is brilliant. And, the fact that was to be blamed upon a video to the JV team the same day that Baghdadi is declaring the caliphate. It's a constant theme throughout this administration. And the point for writing the book was to illustrate that the threats are real. And I want the American people to know the truth about the real threats that we face as a nation.
It's all in there, folks. Pick it up. Failures of Imagination, the Deadliest Threats to Our Homeland and How to Thwart Them. I'd love for you to come back again, Congressman, and spend some more time on this. Thank you very much, sir.
If I could add one more thing to you, is all the proceeds go to wounded warriors and their children.
Very important and very admirable. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Congressman Michael McCaul.